Oh, fuck. What up, everybody? Podcast number 32. Rican and Socrates back in the hizzy. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
What's good? Hope everyone's having a great day. Shit. It's fucking, what is it today? The 24th. Shit's going down. It's already 24 days since the new year. Shit goes by fast, man. Oh, we're doing a podcast while Joe Rogan's doing a podcast. I forgot to turn off my notifications, so let's do that.
All right.
Hey, what's good?
Got my chain.
Oh, shit.
I felt naked without him. I looked and I
always feel naked without my jewelry.
Yeah, man. Feels weird.
So, bro, I got
Overwatch. Got new shit today.
For real?
Yeah. Today's Chinese New Year, and in Overwatch they got new costumes and all sorts of new shit. Now you can have 4 sprays at the same time, 4 emotes.
What?
Yeah, and one thing that used to bother me about it is when you open up a loot box, you can't tell what you have currently equipped. Like, say you get a purple for a person, and you're like, oh, this looks like a cool spray, but I don't even remember what spray I have, or emote, or whatever, right? Intro.
Right.
And since we couldn't remember what we have, it's like a lot of times I'll unequip something better and later go in there and realize, oh, you know. But now when you get a loot box, they show you what you currently have in that slot. And that's a good thing. Yeah, so a lot better.
Is it out now? So you said
yeah, it's out right now. I just finished downloading it in there.
So it's an update?
Yeah.
I heard I seen a
YouTube
video saying there might be a new character. I don't know if you know anything about that.
I've heard of a couple new ones. Something Fist, Doom Fist.
That sounds familiar. I think that's the one that I saw.
Yeah, and I have no idea what his abilities are going to be or anything like that. But
that's going to be so cool.
Doomfist stuff. Heck yeah. I mean, I hope so. They nerfed May a little bit.
They nerfed her?
Yeah.
I mean, I think they should have. She's kind of corny.
She's like a little bit OP, yeah. And it's like, remember last night when they got like 4 Mays, and like that's really frustrating, you know?
Hell yeah. Do you know what they nerfed on her?
Yeah, I guess she had 200 health and 400 shield.
Okay.
And they switched that. Well, wait. I think they gave her 400 health and 200 shield. So that means that her health gets chewed through a lot faster and it doesn't come back now.
Gotcha, because the shield is stronger.
Yeah, well, the shield will come back automatically. And so I don't know how it's going to turn out yet, but they do need to.
We just got a comment. That's Diva, not May.
God damn it. I've been doing that lately, man. Every time I'm in Diva, every time I'm talking about Diva here. Yeah, no, I'm not. I wasn't talking about May. I apologize.
Wait, so they downgraded Diva?
Diva got nerfed, yeah.
Oh, that's not good. I'm not happy now.
Right. You see, because you know how people choose like 4 divas and then they just hem shit up, you know, like last night?
Right.
It's like, yeah, if we want to play with 4 divas, we can counteract that. But what if you don't want to play with 4 divas? You know, and it's like, what then? You know?
It took a long time to take them down, too.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm not happy about that. Like, I am, but I'm not. I mean, I am if I'm against them.
Because she's one of my best characters, Diva.
Right. She's the most fun ever.
May has a couple of cooler outfits now.
They do? I wonder if they have, like...
Chinese New Year outfits. And Diva has, like, a traditional Korean dress on her outfit and shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
like
pretty cool.
Dress?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's not wearing like that skin tight suit that she normally does. Now she's wearing like a Korean dress and the new one.
Low key, they need some sexy ones for Widowmaker.
Shoot, all of hers are sexy as fuck. Really, May is the only girl that doesn't have like any sexy ones, right?
Or Pharaoh.
True. Pharaoh's just like metal, you know? Her tits are just chunks of metal.
Hell yeah. They're fucking hard drives.
Her cut's just a bolt hole.
When she gets horny and shit, like hard drives pop out.
You just download your dick juice into her hard drive.
Download an update.
Work that shit out there, and then the tray goes in, and she's like, delicious.
Delicious. They need to upgrade Hanzo and shit like that. The cool players. They have a lot of cool players there, but I feel like they should be more powerful. Hanzo,
worse than he is now. He used to be way more powerful.
Really, Hanzo?
Yes, because his dragon, It used to last like twice as long, go twice as far. I mean, the seconds that it lasts is like 5 seconds, you know, the big dragon thing. And it used to, I swear to God, you couldn't avoid it before. I don't know what they changed exactly, but people aren't getting nailed with it like they used to.
You see, or they need to make like the arrows more accurate or a little bit more damage. Lucio, I feel like his power, his damage, the damage he gives out should be increased. Because,
I agree,
man, dog, you be sitting there forever jumping side to side trying to.
Yeah. He doesn't have anything else.
You're right.
You know, like his heal isn't even that great. When he boosts, it only lasts like 3 seconds.
Right.
Even that shit's not that great. So it's like he only has his boost, his shotgun blast thing, which is worthless most of the time.
Truth.
Completely worthless most of the time. So his boost is the only ability actually being used. And then half the time people don't even switch to heal mode, and so it's completely worthless.
It's just speed. Yeah. I think the only thing cool about him is his Musao.
Yeah.
His Musao is dope. I mean, he gives armor. Is that what? Or
yeah,
heal?
he gives everyone a giant shield.
Yeah, I think that's the only one. Who else needs it? Not Junkrat. Even though
fuck.
Really, man, I feel like he needs something else.
All of his abilities are useful. That bomb that he can jump or blow people out, you know, like wow, that one traps tracers and sombras, man. I think he's got a really good. I think Farah needs a bit of
a boost.
Like her abilities, the one skyrockets up in the air and the other shoots like a concussion blast.
Right, that bomb that she throws out needs to be better. It needs to either do damage. Yeah,
there are very few stages with very few points where that is of any use if you're trying to get a kill. And I really don't see the purpose of it. As Farah, let me ask you this. You want to hit a group, right?
True.
So why on earth would they give her ability that separates groups? That is fucking stupid. Right. You literally want them to group up. That way you can hit them all with one fucking missile. It literally defies logic. That's how stupid her moves are. They defy fucking logic. They're anti-logic. She makes no sense to me, dog.
For real. I think who else?
Have you heard about the inauguration riots and shit?
There's riots? I didn't know there was riots. I mean, I've heard like
for a few days. I got a little bit of a footage to show.
I heard like it was just less than Obama's and shit like that. But other than that, I mean, I actually had
it's way worse than Obama's ever was.
I sent this to my email on purpose to show it to you. It's about the inauguration, and it was saying that Trump took some not lyrics. He what is it when you copy something for somebody else? Plagiarized. Yeah, he plagiarized a speech from Migos. I don't know if you know that music group.
Yeah, I have a few songs of theirs. I like them. He has a song with.
Here, I'll show you right here.
It's a really great song. Migos.
I'm gonna show you. All right. It's right here. It shows Trump what he said in 2017, and then it shows Quavo's pick up the phone in 2016. Yeah, it was on Twitter. It was just a little funny.
Kind of a stretch to say that he.
No, it was just funny. It was more of a funny thing. I took it hilarious, not serious.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I mean, what he's saying is a positive thing, and he's not using the exact same words. I mean, I've said those same group of sentences. Am I plagiarizing from Migos? Hell no.
True. But what's that video you saw?
Let me show you. Yeah, see, like when Trump got elected, sure, some far right, they protested and shit, but nobody got hurt. They didn't shoot nobody. Nothing really happened. But the same cannot be said for the far left's actions.
It's a double standard type bullshit.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Oh, maybe I have to refresh this real quick.
It's blowy. Hey, so I got that while you're searching up that video. I got that VR system today, dog. Or that VR thing. Yeah.
I'm really curious if I could try that shit.
To be honest, dog, I feel like maybe it was a waste of money. I don't know. maybe I have to play with it a little bit more, but right now I just feel like it's a waste of money.
Why do you feel like that?
Because well, first maybe I just didn't get a very good experience. I need to find more apps because I looked up that it depends on your on the amount. Sorry, I can't talk. It depends on the app that you have for a good experience and stuff like that. So maybe I need to search around a little bit more and maybe find one that I like. But so far, I just haven't found one. So I'm going to give it a chance before I say that. But
I hear porn is the shit on those.
You said what?
I hear the porn is the shit on those.
Probably is, man.
But like, as long as there's no smell-o-vision 3D, I'm good.
No what? No what?
Because like I've heard from camera people that work cameras and shit like that in porn, they record porn, and they said they got a stinky ass job. Well, you can bet, like a bunch of stinking ass crotches, you know, like.
Oh hell yeah, all sweaty and shit. Yep.
Dude, gross. Like,
yeah, it's disgusting. Shit be going on for hours, and you got to do a close up and shit.
Oh my god.
Fuck that. Have you ever seen that picture of
I'll be wearing nose plugs, dog. Put
hell yeah.
Earplugs in my nostrils. I wouldn't even care. They can make fun of me, dog.
Hell yeah, I would too, man. But have you ever seen that GIF? It's like a moving picture where it was a porn scene and the dude like cummed and it went to the camera dude right on his face. Yeah. Oh my god, that shit was funny as fuck. I would hate that be
He's getting all pissed. I'd be fucking pissed, dude.
Hell yeah, dog. I'm gonna raise after that.
Fucking juicing all over the place, Jesus.
Right. Why don't you aim that bullshit?
God damn.
I'm sorry. You could go back to the video.
That is so disgusting.
Yeah.
That's funny. I mean, it's funny because it's not us. Like, if that was one of us, I'd be
fuck that.
Dude, pissed.
One of us would be laughing at each other, though.
Yeah, maybe.
You can't doubt that.
Yeah. So, I guess, you know, at his inauguration speech, somebody got shot. They were looting. They were breaking things. I'll show you a little bit of a footage here.
Do you know the place? Where's this at? New York?
Washington.
Washington. Okay.
Yeah, I heard most of them were in Washington. There were some in other states as well.
Gotcha. That's so dumb. I don't.
Yeah, like I don't get it. Like, yeah, I hate
to ruin your own place.
Right.
So retarded.
Why ruin your own city? The bank is going to claim it on their insurance. Insurance takes out a loan from other banks, which is paid back by the people. So basically, they're breaking shit that they have to pay for.
Oh, I never knew that.
We all have to pay for it. Everyone that works pays for this.
Damn. So they ain't worried about it.
Guys, anarchist. If you're an anarchist, then it doesn't matter who got voted. You should be rioting, right?
Right. I thought that was Avengers.
Ha! It does look like the Avengers. Anarchists believe that they can do everything without the government. They don't need the government to do anything. That's what they believe, right? Like, they don't need the government to pave roads, to fund schools, to fund hospitals, all that sort of thing. They believe that people can do it all on their own.
Dumbasses.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of with them there. I think that a small government, the smallest possible, is the best possible way. You know.
But that's still a government, though.
Yeah, but it's still. I think that we need some form of.
Right. You know, we need some form of authority.
Right.
No matter what, we need some form of authority.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the places where there's Sharia law and shit, and then our police and other police forces around the world don't even go in them zones anymore, man. They don't even police them because every time they do, they're called racist and shit. Just like how it's becoming with, black people in America.
Right. I actually heard a story from one of my teachers, and he's a cop, and he was telling me about the story. I think it was Freddie Gray. He was one of them. They told the police officers over in that area, I don't know the area, to just basically stop messing with black people. Just stop it, because whatever they do, they get in trouble with it. Yeah. The media changes it, and then they get screwed. And then once they stopped, a lot of looting and shit happened, and murders went up and shit like that. And then, I mean, I'm not sure. I think Gray was in Baltimore, and that's when Baltimore had that big, huge riot. I mean, they had state of emergency and shit like that. They had crazy-ass videos on that online. I mean,
in the 60s and 70s, black people used to complain that the police didn't come there to protect them, that they didn't come and police their streets. And then now we police their streets and they get pissed. So, you know, my question to black people is, what do you want done? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't have it, you can't complain about it not being policed, and then also complain about criminals when cops take care of them however they need to.
right. Check this out. Meow said we should call Batman. Someone called Batman.
This city cries out for a hero, and I will answer the call.
Olaf says, bird throwing up the signal now in my backyard. He's throwing up the signal.
Who said that?
Dirty.
Nice.
Yeah,
we about need it.
You don't. Yeah, you can't have both sides.
You can't have it both ways. You know, you just can't. Have you ever heard about that black superhero? He's a real life vigilante superhero, and he lives in the city, and he goes around fighting crime. You ever hear about that guy?
No. Does it dude that actually goes out there and fight crime?
Yes, indeed. Let me show you, man.
Is that against the law?
It's against the law to be a vigilante. It's not against the law to, if you see crime, to stop it. No, it's not.
Right, but he's actually trying to find it, right?
Believe it or not, if a police officer is breaking the law and you can prove it, you can actually arrest a police officer.
What?
That's legal. Yeah, it's a citizen's arrest. It doesn't happen very often, you know, but you can arrest people who are doing wrong. Whereas also, if you are a licensed gun carrier, you can stop somebody who is attacking someone else with a gun.
True, I know that. Yeah.
You know, so you're not necessarily a vigilante, but you know.
Right. What type of, is this suit funny? Does he have a suit?
Yeah, he has a suit. Here he is. This dude right here. All right.
For Phoenix Jones,
it's gonna be hilarious.
It was necessary. This Seattle-based hero doesn't actually have superpowers, but is a trained fighter. Well, with a group as big,
you're not showing it yet, brother.
What?
You're not showing it yet.
Oh my God! Thanks for telling me.
No problem. We got some comments. We got Olaf saying, "LOL, just found the snowflake emblem end game." Check this out. Meow said, "Damn, you're good." Nerdy said, and his sidekick is Time Spank. Time Spank? What the hell?
Time Spank. That's an old inside joke with check this out, Meow. We were talking about superpowers and if you had them and shit, and then we were like, how did we say it? It's like, what if you ever watch that show Heroes?
Yeah, I love that show.
And the dude Hero, he can freeze time.
Yep.
I was like, man, if you were like a sexual pervert or a deviant or whatever, you could like freeze time and do whatever you wanted, you know? And
we see where you're going with it.
You could pause time, and then when time is unpaused, she'd have like jizz all over her, and it'd be like, oh my God, this is jizz. Nope, that's time butter. And the superhero's name could be Time Spank. Get it? Because he can pause time and fucking jizz all over.
Time butter will make them slip all over the place.
No,
comment by Nerdy.
You got a little time butter on your face there, bitch.
Damn, that would be funny though. I wonder why Hero never did that. It doesn't seem like Hero ever got any pussy too, so he probably did, and then to show it.
Remember that one chick, and the whole reason he went back in time was to try to save that one chick that he couldn't prevent her death.
That waiter?
Yeah. Yeah, he did get some.
He fucked her?
Yeah, man, they were kicking.
I thought she died.
She was.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
I haven't either, but I know she was way into him, and if he didn't get none at that point, then there ain't no hope for him, man.
Right. He's better off saving the world.
They say the Japanese culture in 50 years may not even be a thing because they aren't producing enough to even there is no new generation. There's
What?
so few people having children. Yeah, there's so few people having children in Japan that they predict that 50 to 80 years or some shit like that, there may not be a Japanese culture. But I kind of think that they're people, like, biologically we can sort of adapt, and I kind of feel like if the population got to a certain point, they would suddenly feel the urge to breed, and that the reason that they're not is because they're clustered into fucking few small islands. You know what I mean? Like, Michigan's bigger than all of Japan, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
So,
especially after they heard that, they're probably making babies now.
yeah. You want me to hit play on this Chinese you can learn?
Oh yeah, sure. It's a cool suit.
Accessories, such as when civilians started to notice lethal and illegal weapons, Jones had to disband the group. You can still see him patrolling the streets of Seattle with up to 4 trusty sidekicks.
Oh shit.
Or the Dark Guardian. In the once notoriously crime-ridden city.
Oh, this is a fucking joke.
Chris Pollock, a martial arts instructor who may be better known as the Dark Guardian. This leather-clad crime fighter often dons a bulletproof vest and can be seen.
But anyway, yeah, there's some real-life just vigilante-ish heroes out there. I wouldn't call them superheroes because they're not actually, they don't have any powers, right?
Right. What the fuck? Dumbasses. Not dumbasses, but then again, like, what the fuck? Why would you wear that? I wouldn't feel comfortable. I would rather feel comfortable wearing the first dude. The first dude actually had a cool costume. Yeah, it wasn't bad. There's another one out there that's pretty fucking funny too. I didn't find the video, but there's one where this black dude and they have him take off his mask for the first time, and he has like this giant wedge flat top haircut, and it's just a real funny observable thing because you don't expect him to have that enormous fucking flat top. I really wanted to find that one. Let me see if I could. Have you ever seen one of those Christian superhero TV shows? He looks exactly kind of like that dude. I don't know if you ever seen like one of those. It was like for kids. He was Christian and he was a superhero. It was like, oh my God, Bible Man. I think so. Is that it? Here, let me
Yes.
look it up.
Dog, that is the corniest shit ever, dude. Bible Man. Wow.
Yep, the Bible Man. He looks exactly like Bible Man, that first dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not finding this other one. It's a pretty long time ago since I've seen it, so I don't know.
Bible Man was funny as fuck. I used to watch that when I was little. I only watched it a couple times. I liked the fucking what was that? Vegetables? VeggieTale? No, it's not VeggieTale.
God, yeah, it's VeggieTales.
It's VeggieTales. Yeah. VeggieTales was dope. That was my show. Jonah and the Whale.
Man.
Balling.
I guess. I mean, to each their own, I say.
You didn't like those? What'd you watch?
When I was a hardcore Christian, I didn't even believe in watching television or movies.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I actually considered it against, but now I'm agnostic, and so
right.
Obviously, I watch television and stuff like that now. But
can you tell me other things that you would refrain yourself from and why? So
just
TV,
about everything. I mean, obviously you can't look at porn. You're not supposed to spank it. There's verses against this. Like in the Bible, it says like,
you're not supposed to spank it.
Yeah. Like, who was it? There was a dude in the Bible, and it said that he spilt his seed on the ground. Like he pulled out of a bitch and like blew his load on the ground.
What?
And, like God punished him for it, and that's the verse they use to say that like spanking it's wrong, because you're shooting your seed out on the ground and shit,
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What are other things? Why TV? Why does that matter? Or
because there are many verses that say things like, for instance, I don't remember where it is, but it says, "Shun profane and vain babbling," and like don't listen to the world's bullshit. Basically, their vanity, their mindless drivel, and all that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and there are tons of verses on that, but I mean, you could take that to mean whatever you want. Like if you're watching programs that you don't feel are, you know, I took shit too far. I'm always like that. You know, like when I get into something, I'm an extreme kind of person. Like if I get into jiu-jitsu, I'm really into fucking jiu-jitsu. If I get into whatever it is, I'm really fucking into it. I don't have like a surface level. I just don't, you know, and so for me, I was convicted like that. But the Bible also says what's a sin to you, don't put that on your brother. So
really,
it's basically saying like, yeah, it's saying like, because
shouldn't be a sin. Shouldn't a sin be something for everybody? I mean,
sort of. Let me give you an example. In the book of Acts in the New Testament, Peter, who was obviously one of Jesus's followers, his 12 disciples, right?
Right.
His 12 apostles. I'm just looking. He was sent to the Gentiles, and Paul, who was converted in the book of Acts, was sent to the Jews because Paul was also a Jew. And or I might have that backwards because it's been a while. I've read the Bible like 20 times, but it's been like 10 years since I've read it, you know.
Right.
But the story goes that Peter, yeah, I have it right because Peter there's the books of the Bible, New Testament called 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Peter.
Mm-hmm.
And in there, it talks about how Peter, he was telling all the new Christians at the time that they weren't allowed to eat things that were unclean to the Jews, right? Kosher is what it's called.
Like pork and stuff like that, right?
Like pork, like there's a bunch of things, you know, like different types of fish. There was animals that chew their cud and didn't chew their cud and had a cloven hoof and not a cloven hoof, and different ones were kosher and different ones were not. And he was telling everyone that they're only allowed to eat kosher things. And he had a vision where like this banquet was brought down in front of him and it said, eat. And he said, no, Lord, I will not eat, for you've made it bad. And 3 times God says to him, what I've made clean, thou makest not unclean, you know? So he's basically saying, you know, what I've made clean, you don't make unclean. And also it says, Paul wrote, he wrote 17 of the New Testament books. He said, don't burden, like if you're convicted and for you it's a sin to eat pork, don't tell other people not to eat pork. You just don't eat pork, right?
Okay.
Don't burden other people with your sins and shit like that. You know, don't burden other people with your conscience.
Kind of sounds like us.
Yeah, so in certain ways, yes, things are outlined as directly being a sin or not. Obviously, like, you know, fornication, adultery, theft.
So
murder.
he's saying if that's not a sin to just like, let's play devil's advocate, okay?
But not the 10 Commandment type things. Those are solid as stone. Those you're not supposed to do. But I'm talking about things that necessarily are kind of outlined and kind of not, like questionable areas. In those areas, you shouldn't try to burden people with your convictions. And so this is why, even as a Christian, you know, I would tell people that I don't watch TV and stuff, but I realized it was a lot to, you know, to tell anyone else about, you know, have them
do that also.
Yeah, they may or may not, you know, and nor should they, you know. You want to clear.
But that sounds contradicting as fuck.
Well, there's a lot of contradictions, so.
Right, so that's not the first one.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus himself, written in red, in one verse he says, I came not to bring a sword, but to bring peace. And then later, still in the New Testament, he says, I came not to bring peace, but a sword. Literally the opposite statement. And you can say that, you know, if you look at it in context, it's not, but, you know, I think that the argument could go both ways. Like, you could say.
What does he mean by sword? Does he mean war?
Yeah, well, yeah, he does. In one part, it says, beat your swords into plowshares. Other words, like make your weapons into useful tools. You know, you don't need them anymore as a Christian. And then in other verses, it says, beat your plows into swords. So it's like, I really don't know. And when a lot of people don't know this, but I think it was Peter, when Jesus was arrested, like the apostles carried swords and shit. That make you change the way you think about them, right? Like when they picture them in movies and stuff, they're just, you know, wearing robes, you know, harmless as doves, sort of. But in the real world, they actually carried swords. And there's even a part that talks about it in the Garden of Gethsemane when they went to arrest Jesus, supposedly, right? Before the crucifying him, when they went to arrest him, Peter drew a sword and cut off the ears of one of the people who came to arrest Jesus.
You see, in the movie, it was a little knife or something like that.
Yeah, and supposedly Jesus healed the guy and said, "Put your sword away," and this and that, and Peter didn't even get arrested or anything. And then later he denies Christ 3 times, and it's all very complicated. But yeah, but
that's a really tricky subject to go into. I mean, you could go all day.
It really is, and that is something that I could talk about forever because I do know quite a bit about it. So
it's just really interesting. I could ask you questions all fucking day.
Yeah, well, feel free. I'm going to answer them.
I just don't understand. I mean, I'm trying to understand it more because for a person that, I mean, used to be, I guess, a Christian, you can say, but I didn't read the Bible not once. I mean, I've tried to. I remember I've gave myself like tons of guilt trips, saying I got to read this. Every day I'm going to read 10 pages. After the second day, I ain't read shit,
That's one of the main reasons that I didn't watch TV, because whenever I would go to read, TV would always seem more exciting.
Truth.
And like I heard of people going to great lengths to read their Bibles. Like I heard about people who would stand on the edge of their tub reading their Bible, holding it, standing up. That way, if they nodded off, they'd fall. They had to keep awake, right? Because if you ever want to fall asleep, just open up any book, but let alone the Bible, you'll be asleep in 2 minutes, right? And just unfortunately, it's sort of very the vernacular is very old, especially because I believed in the King James version, and that it's basically been the same since forever. 1611 had the Old English, but they revised the Old English in it, but it's still basically all the same. So.
What I hate about the Bible is it is so old. I mean, that's a different culture back then. Like, I hate those people that try to, what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't take my alpha brain this morning. I'm not thinking. Damn it, I just lost my thought. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Were you gonna show me a video?
Yeah.
I started talking.
Yeah, check this out. It's a couple minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but this little girl, earlier we were talking about the banks and debt and shit. Well, I was wondering, I covered this a little bit on the video I made last night about propaganda and shit, but she's talking about Canada, but it's basically the same here in the United States, but she outlines the national debt pretty easily. And just check out what she says here. It's pretty interesting.
All right.
It was about 5 or 6 weeks ago that Victoria spoke to a group of 600 people at a Rotary Club, and she's going to be giving the same speech to us today. And as we come on up, do your thing.
Have you ever wondered why Canada is in debt? Have you ever wondered why the government forces Canadians to pay so many taxes? Have you ever wondered why the bankers from the largest private banks are becoming wealthier and the rest of us are not? Have you ever wondered why the gross national debt is over $800 billion? Or why we are spending $160 million a day on the interest of the national debt? That's $60 billion a year. Have you ever wondered who receives the $60 billion? What I've discovered is the banks and the government have colluded to financially enslave the people of Canada. I will share with you 3 important points of reference, which will hopefully spark enough interest and concern for you to continue the research on your own.
Wait, hold on.
Your government to stop this.
She says to enslave her Canada?
She's saying that the national debt enslaves the people.
Oh, I thought she said Canada for a second. I'm sorry.
She is saying Canada, but I'm saying you can. This is America too, except the numbers are way bigger.
Oh, okay.
The amount of debt and all that is way bigger in America.
I see where I'm at now. Okay.
I'm talking about Canada, but I'm saying this is how the banks and the government collude together
I'm saying this is both really the same thing, just two different problems.
It's the same problem in two different areas.
There we go. That's how I was supposed to say it.
Yeah. So just ignore the Canadian part and insert America. It's same shit.
Gotcha.
Against people of Canada. First, we will briefly examine the Bank of Canada. Second, we will see how our banking system works today. And lastly, I will offer a viable solution that we can petition our government to implement. A very little known figure in Canadian history is Gerald McGeer. He was a lawyer, member of Parliament, and Mayor of Vancouver. His contribution to Canada is probably the greatest in our history. He championed the creation of the National Bank of Canada, whose sole purpose is to create and manage Canada's money. It was formed on July 3rd, 1934, and owned by all Canadians. Until the 1970s, because of the Bank of Canada, Canada's national debt was held at a constant, manageable level, until the government decided to implement what we now have as our modern-day banking system that is robbing the Canadian people. So how are they robbing us? Allow me to explain how our private banks and government work today. First, the Canadian government borrows money from the private banks. They then lend the debt-based money to Canada with compounded interest. The government then continues to increase taxation of Canadians year after year in order to pay back the interest on the exponentially growing national debt. What results is inflation, less real money for Canadians to spend into our economy, and the real money being used to pad the pockets of the banks. Also, the government gave the banks the ability to loan out money that doesn't exist in the form of loans. When a bank gives you a mortgage, which literally means a debt pledge or a loan, they don't actually give you money. They click a key on a computer and generate the fake money out of thin air. They don't actually have it in their bank vaults.
What?
Presently, the banks only have $4 billion on reserve, but they have loaned out over $1.5 trillion. To quote Graham Towers, each and every time a bank makes a loan, a new bank credit is created. New deposits, brand new money. Broadly speaking, all new money comes out of a bank in the form of loans. As loans are debt, then under the present system, all money is debt. What I find interesting is even Jesus, in Matthew 21, drove out the money changers in the temple because they were manipulating the currency to steal money from the people. The private banks are just like the money changers in Matthew 21. They are defrauding and robbing the people of Canada, thus their freedom, and they need to be stopped.
Boom, bitches!
How should the banking system work? In an infamous interview, Mr. McGeer asked Mr. Towers, "Can you tell me why a government with power to create money should give that power away to a private monopoly and then borrow that which Parliament can create itself back at interest to the point of national bankruptcy?" Mr. Towers replied, "If Parliament wants to change the form of operating the banking system, then certainly that is within the powers of Parliament. In other words, if the Canadian government needs money, they can borrow it directly from the Bank of Canada. The people would then pay fair taxes to repay the Bank of Canada. This tax money would in turn get injected back into our economic infrastructure and the debt would be wiped out. Canadians would again prosper with real money as the foundation of our economic structure and not debt money. Regarding the debt money owed to the private banks, such as the Royal Bank, we would simply have the Bank of Canada print the money owing, hand it over to the private banks, and then clear.
All right, that's all I'm going to play this.
Yeah, that's a lot of information to take in. Can you summarize that, please?
Yeah, so I'll try my best. So basically,
so go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, the banks, like we take out a loan for a house from the banks, and that loan is just keyboard clicks. We don't actually get the money in our hand. We just get the loan to buy our house, which we have to pay back over 30 years. Meanwhile, when we pay for our house note, we're sending them real money. So what happens is they're giving us nothing because somehow they own all the houses and we have to buy them from them. How they began to own the earth that we're all just born into, I don't know. But somehow we are the ones that buy and they are the ones that own. And we are the ones that give them real money and they are the ones that give us computer clicks. And our national debt, I was wondering, who the fuck do we owe? I always heard that we like owe China, right? Like we owe
I always heard that too.
National debt, which is like tens of trillions of dollars, we owe China. And that's what I always heard. But what it actually is we owe the banks in America. We owe them money, you know. So, and we're only ever just dealing with basically the interest. So then the national debt is forever going up and the interest is forever going up and we'll never get it paid down. Before Obama, it was $30,000 per person in America that owed that money to pay off the debt.
Mm-hmm.
After Obama, it's $62,000 per. So he's more than doubled it. He spent more than any other president ever, and he's increased the national debt more than all of the other presidents put together.
So increasing the debt makes them stay in power?
No, it just keeps us in perpetual slavery, basically. Paying off a debt that we didn't incur, basically. You know, I mean, we're sending billions of dollars, like in Obama's administration, he was sending billions of dollars in aid to the countries we are literally at war with. Why in the fuck would anyone do that? Like, the American people are actually paying for that choice, you know? It's got to the point now where it's like, you know, that shit will never be paid off. I mean, if you have a child, your child immediately owes the government $62,000.
Damn.
Yeah, man, it's pretty fucked up. And you know, so this whole idea of this national debt is, and in 2008, we bailed out the banks because they were supposedly too big to fail. If anyone wants to know more about this, I made a video last night actually about conspiracies, propaganda, and I went into this a little bit. But yeah, man, it's pretty sad. You know, the national debt is from these fucking banks that we supposedly trust and need for loans. And
what do you mean we bailed them out in 2008?
In 2008, the economy crashed. Right, and right. Obama said, these banks are too big to fail, meaning that if these banks failed, America fell. But that's not true. I mean, it's just not fucking true. You know, so we bailed them out and they were giving each other bonuses in the millions and tens of millions of dollars, you know, the workers there, and they're getting these outrageous sums of money. It's really, really fucking stupid. And I think we shouldn't have bailed them out. I mean, if you have a business, you know, and it fails, they ain't going to bail you out. They don't care about your business. The only reason they care about them is because they collude with them, you know? Right. So basically what you have is collusion between banks and the government, and it's to rip off the people that live there, which is us.
So basically banks are
well, yeah, but yeah. Damn. I mean, yeah, they're a ripoff, but before a couple of days ago, I didn't understand the ties between the national debt and our banks. I always thought it was China. Yeah, I always heard that we owed like China.
Like even
not really.
In school, they teach us China. I mean, I'm talking about like high school and stuff.
Yeah, and that's fucking crazy. And I imagine some of that money we owe to China. Yeah, probably. But the majority of it is from our own fucking banks. The national debt, you know, like, and I was talking, and you know what's funny about them looters we just watched? They were breaking the windows out of a Bank of America. You know, instead of the Bank of Canada she was talking about, that's the Bank of America. So it's literally the ones that are ripping us off to a great extent, you know.
Right.
Yeah. If anyone else,
it's cool though that now that I know that.
Me.
I never knew it was the banks.
Yeah, I didn't know it went down that rabbit hole either, man. It's pretty sad. You know, we think of ourselves as being like super free, but there are lots of other nations that actually have more freedoms than we do. So, do
you know more information on that? Because actually, one of my assignments here recently was asking if, as Americans, are we the actual word, I can't really say it very good, but are we proud? Like, is every American inherently super proud of their country to where we think that we're better, our country is better than every other country? And I kind of agreed, because I thought that, like, you know, I don't see a lot of people trying to come. I don't see a lot of people trying to go anywhere else in America. You know, I see people trying to come here. A lot of people want to come here and make a life and freedom, whatever. I don't really hear about other nations where they have more freedoms than we do.
I can give you a couple examples. The refugee crisis, I'm sure you've heard about that. I've talked about it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
They are flooding through Europe, and they're trying to go to the most progressive countries like Germany, Sweden, Switzerland, you know, Holland, these places where there's lots of freedom. And, you know, like I think it's in Switzerland, they have the highest rating of any country in the world. They have free college, free healthcare. Yeah, I have a video on here where they passed I forget what it's called, a universal money. So even if you don't work, everyone in there gets paid at least a very minimum. It's not even welfare. It's just.
Oh, I heard about that in a podcast. Like, they give everybody.
Yeah, I actually have a video of that. And you think about a place like Holland. I mean, you can go into a corner store, buy some weed and some ecstasy and some whatever the fuck you want, and smoke that shit while you're getting your dick sucked by a prostitute. If you get hurt or she nibbles your dick a little bit, you can go to the hospital for free. And if you want to learn how to prevent bad shit from happening, you can go to college for free. There are places with a lot more freedoms than we have. However, these places, a lot of them have been flooded with migrants and have been basically destroyed. You know, nobody wants to fucking live there now. Even the people that live there want to fucking get away from these third world barbarians, you know?
Oh, for real.
Yeah, so are there places?
How does that work, though? Is it work because it's smaller than the United States? Like, do you think that we can make that work?
Well, America's a lot bigger than them, bigger than many of them put together. So what do you mean by make what work? Make
when I say make what work, I'm saying, like, I want to say, all right, yeah, let's just say this: free college, free hospital, maybe a little bit of money. Because I've heard certain podcasts with Joe Rogan, and this dude was in there talking about how there should be a plan to where at least everybody gets a certain amount of money or whatever. It would be cool. And then free college, and then also free schooling. I mean, college and schooling is the same thing. Free hospital and medical and stuff like that. Do you think that can work? Or?
Well, we already do have a free healthcare in certain ways. Like, I covered this on a thing I did about immigration, a video a few weeks back, and we spend $30 billion, I think it is, a year just on the medical care that we give to illegals.
Oh, really?
Just illegals, yeah. They actually, in a lot of states here in America, have more rights than the people that live there and are paying for them. You know?
Really?
Yes. I covered it. You can watch that video. And so, there's laws where if you go to the emergency room, they have to treat you whether you have insurance or whatever anyway. So it's not free in that sense, but most people just write that shit off and don't pay for it anyway. I mean, it's exorbitant amounts of money, and most people can't pay it, and they don't, right?
Right.
So in a way, we do have it free, but do I think that that's a good way to go? I don't know. And here's why. I believe in what's called the non-aggression principle, and that is you don't take things from people for no reason. However, I do agree that we do need some form of government, and we have many socialized things, i.e. police, school. We have socialized, sewer. We have basic, sewage, water. We are socialized in certain ways, and fire departments. I believe that that's a good idea. We need those things, maybe possibly funded by the government. And maybe college, one step up from that, might not be a bad idea either. It's not adding that much. But the whole idea of like universal healthcare, free healthcare for everyone, I'm not 100% on that's the best thing to do, because I don't believe. I think that we should have as many freedoms and as few restrictions as possible, as long as we're not hurting anyone else. And I believe that we shouldn't take things from other people if we can help it.
Right.
And like the idea that there are people who aren't even supposed to be in this country and they're getting free health care, even more so than the residents. I have a video, I could actually show that. And, you know, I think that's kind of patently absurd. I mean,
wait, so they're getting more money.
Pay the money should have the rights to it, right?
Right.
If you save money in the bank, it should be your money. No one else should be able to just say you owe that. I believe that the more that we take away, the bigger we make the government, the more we force entrepreneurs and inventors and stuff to go somewhere else because they're not going to want to do it in America. If you tax the rich at like 99% of their earnings, what incentive is there to invent the new iPhone or invent the next technology? Because 99% of their money is taxed, so they make as much as everyone else does. So what's the purpose of having any innovation?
Right.
And that is where, and that's why America's great, because we have had breakthroughs that no other countries have ever had. And the reason that we had those breakthroughs is because we were a big melting pot. We were taking engineers from all over the world. Now we're taking uneducated people from all over the world. That's not the same fucking thing. Do I love immigrants? Yes. The one that come here legally? Yes. But I hate illegals. I hate that they think they're entitled to something that isn't theirs. And I have a real problem with that. And I don't know what the solution is, but it's not flooding them with more money, you know?
I always wanted to ask you this. How would you react if someone came up to you and said, I'm an illegal? Like, what is your first reaction? And then if that, after you tell me that situation, what do you do with the person that you meet, you find out they're cool, and then you find out that he's an illegal?
Yeah. Believe it or not, I've known tons of illegal people. Because like many places I've worked at, they were just like, there was tons of Mexicans that were illegal. Tons. One place I worked at, I'm not going to mention the place, but it was a foundry, right? We make different parts for cars and trucks out of aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
And La Migra came up in that bitch one day. Immigration, man.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, and like 50-something people ran out the back door and broke down the fence behind the thing and ran out into the woods.
Nuh-uh.
Like 20 or 30 of them had the same exact social security number.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And this isn't the only place. Like I worked at other places where there was illegals too, and I knew they were illegal. I treated them like normal people. Do I disagree with it? Yes. You know, the reality is they should have been getting arrested and deported the whole time. We shouldn't have even, for the last 20 years, they haven't been enforcing our immigration laws. Every other country enforces it. I have a clip on here about Mexico. I'm pretty sure I showed you that. A lot of times they'll execute, rob, rape their illegal immigrants while at the same time shitting on America for how we.
You've shown me that.
Yeah, I did. I think I did I?
Oh, I don't remember that, but
I could show it right now because we're always like, the Mexican government is such a hypocrite on this, because the government, they say when Trump said they wanted to build a wall, they basically accused him of racism and shit. But then when you see what they do to their immigrants, you're going to be like, oh my God.
Now you believe in that? Do you believe in them getting arrested so much that like you would call, well, obviously not back then because you obviously didn't do it, but would you call immigration yourself?
I've never done anything like that, but you know, why shouldn't I? If you saw somebody getting robbed, would you call the police?
Yeah.
How is that not somebody getting robbed? How is that not all of us getting robbed?
True.
For whatever they got going on. They aren't paying their taxes. A lot of times they don't even have the right social security number. A lot of times
they're sending money out.
These people steal other people's identities. That's a real problem that a lot of people don't talk about. But illegal aliens steal people's identities, man. That ain't fucking cool. They're ruining people's lives, and then they feel entitled to shit, you know, and it really doesn't make any sense to me. Hold on.
Right.
Okay, here it is.
Illegal aliens from Mexico were allowed to march through America's cities demanding citizenship. Some even waved the Mexican flag. But illegal aliens inside Mexico are literally on the run. Most are from Guatemala and Honduras. Some travel by train, some hide. They're trying to stay one step ahead of the Mexican police. The Mexican government was outraged by the movement to build a new wall on America's southern border. Mexico's foreign secretary went before the cameras to protest that Mexican immigrants are not felons or terrorists. They are human beings who deserve respect and the opportunity to live with dignity. But in Mexico, when it comes to the treatment of its illegal aliens, it's do as I say, not as I do. Mexico has called U.S. immigration policy harsh and has called the proposed wall on the U.S.-Mexico border shameful. But some have called Mexican immigration policy hypocritical. Enter Mexico illegally and you're treated as a felon. If you're caught by the federal police, you'll be fortunate if you're only deported. The unfortunate are robbed, abused, raped, or even murdered by corrupt police officers.
Damn.
Fernando Aguilar Neri coordinates Red Cross efforts to help illegal aliens inside Mexico.
When people approach us, they're usually fearful that we work with the government and are afraid of being reported. One of the 7 principles of the Red Cross is complete neutrality.
See, that's fucked up, dog.
We can't cooperate with it.
I hate that shit. I mean, if we went to Islam, we would get fucked up. But if they come here, we expect it to be good. They do that shit.
They talk about how racist we are, but there aren't any minorities in Islam. They murder them. They murder them.
This is so fucking stupid.
And in Mexico, they shit on us for wanting to build a wall, yet they do way worse than we do. We're not even enforcing our immigration laws. And they fucking murder them and rape them. Like 80% of the people, the women that sneak over here through the borders get raped. 80%.
Another thing in the class that I learned, they asked people to raise their hands if you think Muslims should stop coming and stuff like that, and we should send them all the way back, you know, the refugees and stuff like that. And of course, not a lot of people raised their hands. I mean, I did for certain reasons, and so did another person. But after that, he said one of their teachings, honor killings.
Yeah.
And then the whole class just went like, what the fuck? Like, yeah. Knowing what they actually learn and teach, and how he actually had a case where in the United States, they actually, one father
murdered his daughter.
No, he actually, his family beat his daughter up for trying to have a boyfriend out of his race.
Yeah. And
beat the fuck out of her.
Yeah, and I've heard of one father, this is in America, he stabbed him and her mother just sat there and watched. He stabbed her to death because she also wanted to just date an American. You know, that everything that we consider evil is permissible under Islam. You know, but to the immigration point, before we move on, if you saw somebody stealing, you should call the fucking police. We should be enforcing that. We shouldn't just let it go. No other country on earth is just letting illegals openly, you know, like what other country, could you imagine the nerve of being an illegal in a country and then parading through the streets demanding shit from the people that live there? When you have never
anybody doing that.
Yeah, you've never contributed anything to this country, and yet they take a great deal of resources and stuff to be here. And that is such fucking nerve. They all should be deported. We should have been doing this all along. We shouldn't have to call the immigration right now. They should have been doing this all fucking along. It doesn't make any sense, man.
Yeah, you have a great point. You said a long time ago. You said, when did this become okay?
Yeah.
And that's really actually a good question, because I'm thinking to myself, because now, me being as young as I am, it's kind of like a taboo talking about this shit.
Hell yeah.
It's kind of like, why would you say something about that and this and that, and why would you be in that side? Why do you feel like they should leave? And everyone has a right. And then again, when you say it the way
citizens have the rights.
Right.
Of whatever country we're talking about. If you want rights, go back to Mexico. You have rights there. You are a citizen of that country. You have the rights that they give you. Unless you want to become a citizen of this country, you don't get to demand rights here, bitch. I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck. Yes, I understand. You know, and I have these other videos, and it's like they're crying about how they got deported and their kids are still in America. You know, and if they're born here, they're called anchor babies. If they're born here, then they get to stay, even though the parents might get deported.
Right, that's like the 15th Amendment or something like that.
Do I think that's fucked up? Yes, I think it's fucked up. But whose fault is it? It's their fucking fault, because they never got legal status. They made that situation. They were illegal the whole time. It's like if you stole something and then they found out later, oh, he stole it. There's my car. That is my fucking car. I can prove it.
Right.
So are you saying that because he's had it for 10 years that he shouldn't have to give it back? Fuck no. He should have to give that shit back. I feel no mercy for that motherfucker. He made the situation for his family. Right? Like if I moved my family and my son to Canada or to Germany or whatever, first of all, I'm going to learn the language. I'm going to try to become a citizen. And, you know, if I get kicked out, I had to realize that that was going to happen. I mean, the idea that they deserve it, that nobody's allowed to, you know, do anything about it, I think is patently absurd. When somebody is stealing, we're supposed to say they're stealing.
Right, we're not supposed to just keep our mouth shut.
Yeah, man, that's fucked up. And that's the, you know, like what you said, you made a great point. It's like taboo to talk about it. Yeah, and it's even worse when you're you know, rosy-cheeked white dude like me, you know what I mean?
Right.
Well, if you want to call me white, I'm Scottish. Classically, we've been known as white Negroes, but whatever. You know,
nobody cares about that.
Yeah, nobody cares about that. All they see is whiteness, right?
Right.
And, you know, so I think, it's super taboo, but I've just got past that. I feel like, fuck that. I don't care if they like it or not. They can call me whatever name. They're already calling me that anyway, right?
Like,
so
even when you talk about it, and I agree with you, it's still like, wow.
It's weird, right?
About that, so yeah.
But the only reason that it's weird is because everyone else is afraid to fucking talk about it. But the shit that other people are afraid to talk about, that's the reason I chose the moniker Socrates, because that's what he did. He got actually killed. They sentenced him to death because he wasn't willing to bow down to shit. He wanted to speak the fucking truth. And I feel, you know, I feel that. And I'm willing to fucking say it too. I don't care. The uncomfortable conversations are usually the only ones worth having, in my opinion.
Right. I feel that. Oh, shit. Those uncomfortable conversations take a toll.
Yeah, and it is uncomfortable. But, you know, what else are we going to do? I have a cool story about...
Oh, you know what I want to tell you first before we start off? Dog, I wonder when are we going to go to a generation where we say if like gun control does come into the picture, fuck them and we'll make 3D guns. 3D printer guns. It's
already happening, yeah.
Right, and they made it so better than what it was before. I mean,
I've seen pistols, rifles,
all shit, all of that.
You can download the schematics, yeah.
Yep, that shit was dope. I saw a documentary on that.
Hopefully that day never comes, because the Second Amendment was made to protect ourselves against tyrannical governments. Like, the whole reason that we aren't British right now is because we had the right to bear arms. And so, like modern liberals, they like to say that you know, you don't need that to go hunting. The Second Amendment wasn't made for hunting, dumbass. The Second Amendment was clearly made to protect yourself against tyrannical governments. And like this one dude, I can't remember his name, little Jewish dude, Ben Shapiro. He said he's Jewish, and he says the reason that he said my grandparents didn't see the government ever turning tyrannical, and that's the reason that they're ashes right now in Germany. They were burnt up in the ovens in Germany in World War II because they never thought that the government could turn tyrannical. Most people don't ever think that, but there are all sorts of tyrannical governments all across this world that right now they're in a basic state of apocalypse. Venezuela, the Middle East, Africa, there's countries all over that are in a state of apocalypse right now. And the people that don't have guns are just getting mowed the fuck over. So I hope that day never comes. I really hope that day never comes.
Right, that shit will be a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Because just to see how, I mean, I think if that day happens, dog, a lot of people are going to buy some 3D printers. Because it's really easy just, I mean, I saw the documentary, like I said, and it was just within a couple of hours.
Yeah.
You get a fucking working great gun. And it's a ghost gun, too. You can't track it.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing is ammo. But what if they stop ammo? Then you're fucked.
Maybe, you know, there are clever people. Like, I've seen these people build like automatic pistols out of pipes and all sorts of crazy shit. And there's all sorts of YouTube videos like that. I believe that we'll always arm ourselves, and like, good luck. There's supposed to be like 400 million guns in America, and there's only 320 million people. So I know that if they came for mine, that's the line in the sand. I guess that's when I have to die, because I inherited them from my grandfather and my father, and I ain't giving that shit up willingly. They can fuck off, you know. And I think a lot of people, that's where the line is. Like, you know, Molin Labe, man, come and get them, come and take them from us, because you ain't gonna get it any other fucking way. You can make whatever laws you want at this point. I mean, a lot of people really believe that here, and they should, because our government has already had, we've already had to fight for our freedom more than once. Right. You know, Scottish people were freed from slavery at the same time as blacks were in America. And so there's one example. And then the second example is the Revolutionary War. Back a few hundred years, we fought for our independence against Britain. You know, I mean, we wouldn't be here right now if we didn't have that right. If we didn't have, and also in the early days of America, Muslim pirates were going up and down the coasts, looting and pillaging and taking slaves and doing all sorts of atrocious things, you know.
We got to be thankful for that Second Amendment.
Fuck yeah, because it stops us from being like slaved out and mowed over.
Now that I even think about it, like, I don't even think the government will have really a chance. Like, they would try to, but we are already armed. Like you said, there's so many guns and we have less people than guns.
How exactly would the government do that? Think about it this way. The government is made up of American citizens, right? So is the military, and so is the police. And the military and the police would be how they would want to disarm you. As a matter of fact, whenever they've had like things like gun buybacks and shit, you take them to the local police station and they give you X amount of money for it or whatever. And if they were going to enforce those laws, they would have these police officers go around, I don't know, knocking on doors, but these are American citizens. And meanwhile, I sort of like what Stefan Molyneux says about this. And he goes, there's no such thing as believing in gun, I'm just paraphrasing here, in getting rid of guns, because even if you say you want to take away guns for most people, you still need police officers who have guns to go take away those guns. So you don't actually believe in the abolishment of guns. You just believe that guns should only be held by the politically elite and their minions.
True.
Right? So, I mean, even the people that are against guns are not actually, you know, it's like they haven't quite thought it through yet, you know, because they call police monsters. They hate the government, and yet that's the only people that they want to have arms. That's fucking stupid.
Right.
That makes no sense.
It's like giving Islam a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, which is what we're trying to prevent.
Right.
Because if they get a nuclear bomb, they're going to fucking use it, and we're all toast. But first, Israel will be toast.
Hell yeah. Why do they hate them so much? More than anybody. I don't understand. Oh, because they're Jews?
Because they're Jews, and because they believe that their land has been stolen by them. Israel was like won over. Israel has only been there for like less than 100 years, I think, if I remember.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they got that land back. See, the Muslim Holy Land and the Jewish Holy Land are the same plot of land. So they feel that the Jewish people are intruders on their land. Where in reality, the Jewish people came from that part of the world anyway. I mean, we're all on somebody else's land, if you really want to argue about it, right? Like,
right.
You know, but I have a great video about the crazy shit that's happened to Muslims, but it's really funny how they excuse all their shit. Like, there was like 400 or 500 years, maybe 1,000 years of Muslim aggression. Like they were spreading out in the world and just hemming up everyone, slaving them out, murdering, raping, pillaging, same shit they do today. And finally people got tired of it, and that was called the Crusades. And we went in there and we beat those fuckers back to where they came from. And we stopped, and we probably shouldn't have, because they're so fucking backwards. Here they are to this day, still doing the same shit, and we're probably gonna have to have a new Crusades to beat them down a little bit. But I have an interesting video about what the Mongols did to them.
You want to tell me about that? Or
yeah, I'll show you. It's pretty interesting. But the part that they're
not— The Mongols was a tribe, right?
Yeah, think of Genghis Khan. He conquered nearly the whole earth. They say some huge portion of people that are alive today are descendants of Genghis Khan, because he raped over 1 million women, supposedly.
Damn.
I certainly hope I put this on here. Oh man, I don't want to forget about this. That UFO stuff. Like,
Oh shit!
remind me of that UFO shit after this, so we can talk about that. Okay, this is a couple minutes. I won't play the whole thing, but just listen.
Okay.
They decimated the Muslim world, and this is no exaggeration. Western historians mentioned they reached Poland, they reached Bulgaria, they reached Moscow.
Now, keep in mind what he's saying right here. They reached Poland, they reached Bulgaria, they reached Moscow. That's because Islam was conquering all the whole world. So when he says they reached it, the word reached actually means raped, murdered, stole, pillaged, pirated.
Damn.
But they're not saying that. Of course, they're innocent on their side of things, right? But let's keep going.
No, but they mentioned that what they did to the Muslim world was unparalleled in cruelty. When they took Bukhara, the narration mentioned they gathered every single Muslim in the masjids and they butchered them. When they took Samarkand, they gathered the Muslims outside Samarkand, and then every single Muslim was butchered, and then they cut their heads, and they made pyramids out of their heads.
Look, I don't want to hear nobody bitching about decapitations from the only people in the world that fucking gets their jollies off of doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel bad.
What the fuck?
Like, these people cut off more heads than anyone, and listen to them whine about them, the past heads, right? Fuck them.
When they took Gurgan Juwaini, the famous historian, mentions that there were 50,000 Mongol soldiers. Each one had been given 24 Muslims to execute.
That's true.
And after that, they marched upon where? They marched upon the Muslim Caliphate, Baghdad. Baghdad was the most beautiful Muslim city in the world. Musta'sim was the Caliph. Halugu reached the outskirts of Baghdad. Musta'sim consulted his advisors, and they said the best thing to go and ask for terms. And Halugu made it clear. He said, if you are going to...
All right, I think that's enough to get my point across.
Yeah.
But what they're not telling you is that the Muslims were raping, conquering, stealing, murdering all around the world and expanding their territory. And then when people fought them back, listen to them whine. And this is hundreds of years ago. And also, Genghis Khan sent 500 tradesmen. He said he wrote a letter to that caliph, that king, and he said, I own all the lands where the sun rises in the east, because he had basically conquered all the eastern world, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, you own all the lands where the sun sets, you know, in fucking Saudi Arabia, Middle East, right? And he said, let us have peace between each other, and that caliph agreed. And then he sent like 500 tradesmen in, like he wanted to establish trade routes, right? Mm-hmm. Genghis Khan did, and he sent in 500 people who were they were like caravanners. They sold and bought things. They were merchants, okay? Mm-hmm. And that caliph imprisoned them, stole all their shit. And when Genghis found out, he wrote a letter with an emissary, and he was like, why did you arrest my people? You should let them go, or there's going to be problems. And the caliph arrested even the emissaries that had just came, killed them, killed all the 500 of those merchants that he had in prison, murdered them all. And then Genghis Khan was like, all right, fuck you then. And he brought 100,000 soldiers with him. 50,000 of them went and destroyed any opposition, and the other 50,000 were tracked down to kill the caliph who started all this shit, right? Damn. And they did a whole, they did. They went in there and massacred everyone. That's what Genghis Khan was good at, right? But the idea that they deserve this for no fucking reason is ridiculous. I mean,
so it was actually justified.
Yeah, well, it's justified as war can be, yeah. I mean, you know, he murdered them out of cold blood, and then so Genghis went in and handed
right. It was just a reaction.
Genghis had 100,000. Yeah, right. What else he can do? He had 100,000 soldiers that he bring with him, but the Caliph had 400,000. But Genghis whooped their fucking asses and killed that Caliph, and he poured silver in his eye sockets and in his ears after he rolled him up in a fucking rug. You know,
That's
because
kind of a badass story.
yeah, it's insanely badass. I have a video about it too, and yeah, it's fucking dope. But you know, they asked for it, and that decision that Caliph made is one of the worst decisions made in history. I mean, it killed tens of millions of Middle Easterners because of how greedy that Caliph was. And you know, it's just fucking stupid. I mean, that's what the Muslims do to this day. You know, they go out and bomb people and cause a bunch of trouble, and then they whine about somebody looking at them wrong. I mean, it's really fucking stupid, dude. And I can't. It's fucking dumb.
Right. What the heck? What was I gonna say? All right, I lost my thought again. You want to show the UFO?
Yeah. First of all, I believe it was you that sent me a text earlier this week.
Right. I saw it on Twitter. I think it was Ohio, where they saw a UFO in the sky, and it was on the news. So that's why I sent it to you. I was so surprised that they actually have something on the news talking about this.
Yeah. And you know, you do see the stuff on the news quite often. It's just that most people take it with a grain of salt or a grain of sand or whatever, you know. But you know, I've seen shit, and so I think that it lends a little more credence. But also within just a few days ago, on the 16th, I have a video where the Iranian government opened up fire on a UFO, and there's video of it.
Opened up fire?
Yeah, this just happened. There was a famous case where UFOs were over the Capitol in Washington. You know, this was right around World War II times, and there was a UFO, and they opened up fire on that. It's like a very famous old story. But let me show you real quick. This footage is from Iran right here, Iranian military.
Oh, so it happened 3 days ago. What the fuck?
Yeah, this just happened. Check it out.
Reflective orb of some sort. You will also see the anti-aircraft gun being fired, as well as some of the military men pointing up at this thing, and what looks to be, you know, trying to figure out what this thing was. And then you will see one last shot where the UFO is a little bit harder to see, but we will slow it down and zoom it in, where you'll actually see this thing moving through the sky, and you'll see these anti-aircraft shells flying past it and then exploding in midair. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and play each clip one after the other, and then we'll go ahead and break it down here in a second.
Is that star right there? It looks like a star.
Yeah, it's not a star. You'll see it start to move. See it?
Oh shit.
And look, it zooms right back. It goes into U. Well, that cuts out a lot of shit, planes and shit, because planes ain't gonna be able to move like that. Helicopters can't move like that. And it was directly overhead because you could see the angle at which he was looking up over that building. He was like right below that wall. So it was basically directly overhead. Here they are firing anti-aircraft weapons at it. You'll see, they'll zoom in a second. You get to see it all. You'll see the anti-aircraft rounds blowing up in the air.
Yeah, I see it right there. Wow.
You'll see them go flying by. There's one shot where you can see the UFO and you can see all the shit. There's the UFO.
Is it like flying away? Like fuck? Oh shit.
I don't know. You see the rounds flying by?
Yeah, I see it.
They'll show it better in a second here. See all those white dots? That's all the anti-aircraft shells blowing up in the air.
Damn.
That's all them in the air.
Oh shit. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. They didn't down it.
That's probably some major fire right there too.
Was emailed to me, and the footage was submitted again to some online reporting databases. Now, the only details that were written about this was that it was captured and recorded.
Look how it zoomed down and then came back up.
See, that's a great video right there. That one.
Yeah, because most of like what gets me are the ones that make really sharp turns in the air and shit like that. As far as we know, we don't have those capabilities in any of our aircraft on the Earth. As far as we know, unless they have some kind of new technology, which they probably do. I always say that. I covered that a little bit last night on a video about propaganda and shit because, you know, UFOs. Now, I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that they're aliens or that these aliens are making contact with anyone on Earth. I don't know if I have the evidence for that, but I can say that people all around the world are definitely seeing things that they know aren't the aircraft parked down at the fucking airport that they've seen a million times or at the military bases that you can go visit. So what is the shit? You know, at this point,
that's 2 in 1 month.
Yeah, way more than that. Like if you ever watch this guy, he comes out with shit almost on the daily. Footage from NASA out in low Earth orbit and all sorts of crazy shit, man.
For real?
Oh yeah, man. He covers all sorts of shit. If anyone's interested, this is called Secure Team 10. You can check him out. He talks about shit on the daily about UFOs. This is something I'm really into, and I'll watch whatever videos, and then I just make my own judgment, you know, on what looks legit or not. I'm not saying it's aliens. I don't know what it is. That's why it's an unidentified flying object, right? It's just.
Have you ever seen a video that reminded you of your experience?
Yeah, even this one reminds me of my experiences. A lot of them are just like
the actual aircraft reminds you of what yours looked like.
Yes, because like I said, 2 of the ones I saw were just a ball of like yellowish orange light.
Gotcha.
And tons of these videos are just that. And one I wanted to show you was a few years ago in Chicago, UFO came and they had to shut down the airport for a while. It was at O'Hare Airport. O'Hare, okay, there we go. They actually had to shut down the airport for a while because there was a fucking UFO above it, man. This one looks nice and short, so I'll show this one.
What?
Check that out. Oh, it's gonna hit the tip of the plane. Oh,
that doesn't even look real.
That's sort of like the first one I saw that was way up in the sky with a trail behind it. Remember I told you?
Mm-hmm.
That's what that shit looked like, dog.
Check this out.
This is in O'Hare Airport, dog. And then a few years ago, there was another one in 2006. Look at that, 10 years apart, exactly. In 2006, I remember I was working with your dad when I remember this one hit the news. And
this hit the news?
Oh yeah.
After the earliest sighting, the object suddenly propelled itself directly upwards, piercing the clouds above and leaving a clearly defined.
I wonder if they have like actual footage of it.
Yeah, I don't think they do because in 2006 is when smartphones came out, so people didn't have videos in every pocket like they do now. So that's why they have to like make a recreation. But they actually shut down the airport until this thing left. And then when it left, it went up right through the clouds and made a hole in the fucking clouds. And there were hundreds of witnesses, hundreds. And you know, that's the thing is that
how is that just like hush hush? Like, all right, let's not talk about that no more.
Well, it's not, but the government, one of their main tactics that they've been using for decades, and this has been released through the Freedom of Information Act. This is why I covered it on my propaganda video. Through the Freedom of Information Act, they covered how you know, they released thousands of documents, even about like early research into UFOs and all this shit. And even after they were telling us that they were all bullshit, they were still researching it and finding out all this bullshit. And so if they're telling us that they don't believe in them, they obviously believe in them. So, you know, at this point, if you don't believe, you actually are just plain ignoring the facts because there is shit happening all the fucking time. And it's just that ridicule is a very powerful tool. You know, it is very powerful. If you know, if somebody ridicules, like, you know, religion is an easy thing to ridicule, right? Make people feel stupid. You know, UFOs is another one. Ghosts is another one. People are easy to ridicule when they talk about these sort of obscure things. But you can't take away from people's experiences, especially if there's video proof, man.
I didn't think it happened that often.
That often? Oh yeah, man. Nearly on the daily, someone around the world will catch some kind of footage. And here's the thing. America is one of the only countries that isn't coming out with this. Russia has openly declared that yes, there is UFOs, and they have even captured some downed aircrafts and reverse engineered it.
Really?
Peru, and I believe Mexico, tons of European countries, they've all just said, yeah, UFOs are real. We've looked into it. They're real. America is one of the last countries that won't admit it. And I think the reason they won't admit it is because they know that they've reverse engineered some of their technology, and now it's military secrets, right? And also, they don't want to tell us that they exist because people are getting abducted and disappearing forever and sometimes showing up dead. There are cases where people got killed by UFOs and they showed up with like a cored out asshole, cored out, like they took a fucking sample of their asshole, cored out. Nobody is going to kill themselves by coring out their own asshole. That's something you do to like animals when you're studying animals and shit. Yeah, people come up dead. And so I think another reason they don't want to tell us about UFOs is because it's a lot easier to say we have a missing persons than to say we cannot protect you from this constant assault. They have to admit that they can't protect us. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest reasons why they're not coming out with it, is because people would immediately feel very insecure, right?
Right. Hell yeah.
Like, I'm cool with it. How is the government going to protect us from things that potentially have the technology to transverse interstellar space? You know what I mean?
Invisible, you know, and
galactic,
and all that
be
shit.
invisible and travel faster than light speed, warp through space, have the technology to straight up like pacify us, like mind control and shit. You know, I mean. And that's another thing, that some of the documents that were released talk about the government having mind control and different things like that, and having all these, all the shit that they've like ridiculed, they have been doing. And I think the reason they ridiculed is because they want to keep it to themselves.
Damn.
It's pretty crazy, man. But I definitely believe there are UFOs. Now, I don't know what they are. I don't know if they're government or alien, and I don't really know. But I definitely believe in
Oh yeah, me too.
Anomalous, unidentified things happening. You know,
I just wish we knew more.
Oh God,
I wish our government was willing to tell.
It's one of my biggest dreams to, that in my lifetime we could make contact with another alien sentient race. That's like my dream, because I've always thought, you know, we have all these problems on Earth between the religions and the races and all this kind of bullshit, and I always thought we would instantly feel like we were all the same people. I mean, that was one of the speeches, I think it was JFK, that said, or maybe it was Ronald Reagan, I can't really remember, but he's like, imagine how the world would all unite once we found out that there was, you know, the universe was teeming with life. We would feel like, all right, we shouldn't be fighting amongst ourselves. We should be joining up to protect, well, or joining up to protect ourselves against them, you know what I mean? And think about how, you know, the different religions would have to react to that sort of information. I mean, imagine if you know, all the religions they called gods, and all the old cultures, the Mesopotamians, Egyptians, they all talked about gods. Even in Peru and in Mexico, even in America, the Native Americans talked about star people. You know, they whether you use the word gods, angels, star people, they were all talking about aliens. And just because we've never seen that in our lifetime for hundreds of years, doesn't mean that hundreds or thousands of years ago they didn't fucking witness that shit. And, you know, imagine all the people that think about angels and shit when they find out, or if they find out that they are, you know, aliens. Imagine the reaction.
Right.
You know, their faith would practically be demolished right away, right? Like, sure. How can you be a Muslim and think that God created Islam? Did he create Islam throughout the universe? And are you gonna terrorize the aliens because they don't believe in Muhammad? It's fucking stupid. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's interesting, man. I find shit like that very interesting. It's my dream to have have that revelation revealed to us, I guess I should say.
Right. On that note, it's time for me to bounce.
Yeah.
Bounce with it.
All right, y'all. Till next time, Rican and Socrates.
Yeah, Nick.
IdeaWars podcast. Till later. Peace.
Peace.